So you're thinking of dating a single dad. Maybe you're a woman with her own children who's worried about integrating families. Maybe you're a woman who wants her own children and didn't envision helping to raise someone else's. Maybe you're a woman who didn't want children at all and you met a single father that you could see a future with. There's a lot to unpack here, so stick around as I explain to you the good and bad of dating a single dad. I'm Marc, Katz, dating coach for smart, strong, successful women and your personal trainer for love. Welcome to the Love You podcast. Keep listening to discover how to approach dating men with kids. When we're done, I'll let you know how you can apply to Love You to create a passionate relationship in which you feel safe, heard, and understood. So let's just get this out of the way up front. There's not just one way to live in the world, and I know that should be obvious, but sometimes I think it bears stating out loud. For example, I am a father of two. I was very close with my father, and I always wanted to be a father. If you have no interest in having kids, there's absolutely no value judgment. Studies show that people without kids are happier than people who have kids. So really, whatever floats your boat. But I am going to suggest something. People who have kids have an experience that people without kids can't quite fully understand. Same way I could talk to women for 4 hours a day, every day for 17 years, but I'll never be a woman. And therefore, there's a gap between what I could really understand and empathize with women. It's important to know that people who are parents have a different perspective than non-parents. And that should inform this discussion. So with that out of the way, let's talk about single fathers. If you're a single mother, you're probably going to have a greater empathy and understanding for a single father's commitment to his children. The expectations for what he's able to give in terms of time and energy are going to be more reasonable, perhaps lower for single parents, because in order to get together at all, a bunch of planets have to align. Your ex has to have custody of the kids, or you have to have a sitter. His ex has to have custody of the kids, or he has to have a sitter. Or your kids and his kids have to be old enough so that they could stay home alone. We need to put all those things together in order to go on a date. So that's a lot of moving parts just to grab a casual drink. But that's the way it is for single fathers. They don't own their own schedule. And people who don't have kids really need to get the fact that they don't own their own schedule. If anything, their exes own their schedule. Their kids own their schedule. Right? They're like their bosses. And single dads are like the employee asking for a vacation day when they're asking their spouse to watch the kids so he can go out on a date. So it takes a lot of effort and a lot of coordination to get on a regular dating cycle. And candidly, this is something that I did not get even when I was a dating coach giving advice in my early mid-30s. When I briefly dated a single mom in Hollywood, I, being my own boss, could get to see her whenever I want, any day of the week, but she had zero schedule flexibility. And if I wanted to see her, the only way I could do so, due to her circumstances, was to go over her house where she was with her 3-year-old child. It was virtually a baby, right? You can't do much with a 3-year-old child. So I would go over to watch her 3-year-old kid. So it was pretty quickly clear to me that she wasn't able to give me what I needed from a partner, even though she was a nice person. I was very attracted to her. But that was also not about her. That was a function of her child's age. So if you're a non-parent and you want to date a single dad, understand you could roughly break down children's ages like this. And I did this really quickly and it's really crude, but for non-parents, I think it'll be instructive. Ages 0 to 5. If he's got custody of his infant kids, it's next to impossible to expect anything of him during that time. And so if he has weekends or every other week off, that's about all a dedicated man can do when he's parenting a kid 0 to 5. 5 to 10, 6 to 10, this is the age of my kids, or 8 and 9. This is a really fun age for kids from a parent's perspective because they're cute, they have personality, and they could somewhat function on their own. You still have to make their dinners, but they can go to the bathroom, they can shower, they can brush their teeth, get dressed. They are independent enough. And fathers of these children do want to spend generally a good amount of time with their kids. And the kids still love it. This is before the kids decide to push the parents away. That's coming next. So then we get to ages 11 to 15. We're getting to tween years. If you guys have seen Inside Out, this is when the tweens start to assert their independence. Now, they still need their parents, but they're getting more into their friends, into their devices, their schoolwork, their crushes, not to mention the litany of after-school activities that need parental chaperoning, being driven to places, soccer practice, drama club. And this can be a very difficult age because kids are neither babies nor adults yet. They're kids going through middle school and some pretty weird changes. And then finally, you got kids who are 16 to 18, upper teens. This is when children start to drive. They want to hang out with each other way more than they want to hang out with their parents. And their parents are preparing their kids for college, and they're preparing themselves for a potential empty nest. So you've got a little more freedom from a single dad in the day-to-day parenting needs, but there's also great emotional demands with young adults who are trying to assert their freedom, push their boundaries and independence. So, all that said, what can you expect from a single father, and what are some things that you need to consider before you dive into dating one? So if you're a woman who wants your own children, but you hesitate to date a man with kids already because you're holding out for a man without kids, that's fine. Most of the men who wanted kids by age 40 already had them, which is why it can be potentially counterproductive to screen out all men who already have kids. I've had some clients do this. Women who are 41 want their own kids, and they're looking for another man who's 41 who has no kids so they could start their perfect little family together. Right? There's a flaw in that logic. After 40, the best dating pool for marriage-oriented women are men who have kids because they value family and they know what it takes to be a father. The downside is that men with kids don't always have as much time or energy to give your relationship as you might want because of their previous obligations, which they can't just erase because you came into the picture. He's going to have an ex-wife who will remain a part of his life. He's going to have kids who you may not love the way he does, but have to be an active part of his life. He's going to potentially have alimony, child payments that drain his wallet and cramp his single lifestyle. Just like everything in life, there are trade-offs. There's good and there's bad. So know that you can't figure all of this out from the very beginning. There are different kinds of dads who have different kinds of situations and different kinds of relationship with their exes and different kinds of custody arrangements. You can't just screen out all single dads because of these potential red flags. Right? You're never going to know by looking at a guy's profile when he thinks it's appropriate to introduce you to his kids, which is an issue a lot of my clients have had. You can't know if his kids are going to eventually want to accept you as a stepmom. You can't know what the future holds in terms of whether he's ready to get married again. When he's ready to get married again. You should know whether he wants to get married again. You got to date a guy who wants to get married again if that's your goal. So, if you're dating a single father, consider that there are reasonable trade-offs to be made to be with a dedicated family man. You may give up some time during courtship, right? You may see him more once or twice a week rather than 3-4 times a week. But this trade-off may end up making up for it in the long run when you create a new family together and you have a guy who wants to be married, have kids, raise kids, and be part of a new nuclear family unit, trying to hold out for this sort of needle in the haystack guy who doesn't have any past is pretty hard to do when you find guys at a certain age. I am Marc Katz. I'm your dating coach. Thank you for tuning into the Love You podcast. For more episodes like this on YouTube, click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and choose all to ensure you get notified whenever new content comes out. If you're listening on an audio podcast, please share an honest review on Apple. And if you want to find love right now and you're committed to making healthier relationship choices with men so you could have an easier marriage that makes you feel safe, heard, and understood, click on the link below and apply for coaching with me in Love You. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.